Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a waiting room, watching the clock tick by, wondering when your real life will begin? It's a universal feeling, that sense of being in between, on a journey with no clear end in sight. But what if these long, seemingly empty stretches are not just detours, but the very places where our stories are forged? Imagine a vast desert under a blanket of stars. The silence is profound, almost alive. This is the backdrop for some of the most powerful stories ever told, stories of incredible patience and unwavering faith. It's a reminder that even in stillness, something profound is happening. Think of Abraham, a man well into his years, living a comfortable life. Then, a call, a promise of a future he can't yet see. He packs his belongings under the faint light of dawn, not knowing his destination, only the one who called him. We see his caravan, a small speck moving across an endless sea of sand. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months. By the campfire at night, surrounded by his family, did he ever doubt? Did he ever wonder if he'd heard wrong? Yet he kept moving forward, his faith a compass in the wilderness. His journey wasn't about speed, it was about trust, one step at a time, across a landscape that tested his resolve with every sunrise. Or consider Moses, a prince of Egypt turned fugitive. He finds a new life as a shepherd in the quiet land of Midian for 40 years. His world is the rhythm of the flock, the changing of the seasons across the harsh desert. Spring brings sparse new growth, summer bakes the land, autumn winds sweep the plains, and winter brings a biting chill. He walks these lands, staff in hand, year after year. 40 years, it's a lifetime. He could have felt forgotten, his past life a distant dream, his future a blank page. But this long season of obscurity was his training ground. It was in the silence of Midian that he was being prepared for something monumental, long before he saw that impossible cider bush burning, but not consumed. Then there's the story of an entire nation, the Israelites, freed from slavery, standing at the edge of a promised land. But because of fear and doubt, their journey takes an unimaginable turn. For 40 years they wander. Imagine looking down from above, seeing this great multitude walking, day after day, guided by a pillar of cloud, never truly arriving. They walked in circles, their lives defined by the journey itself. They had to learn to depend on daily provision, on a guide they couldn't always understand. This wasn't a punishment meant to destroy them, but a process meant to refine them, to teach them that the God who freed them was also the God who would sustain them, even in the wilderness. The wilderness can also be a prison cell. Joseph, a favored son, sold into slavery, then falsely accused, the best years of his life are spent in a dungeon. We can almost see the time lapse of sunlight, a lonely patch of gold creeping across the stone wall day after day, year after year. 13 years of waiting. He could have been consumed by bitterness, by despair. Yet, even in the darkness, he held onto his integrity, his gift, and his faith. He interpreted dreams, served others, and waited. And then, one day, the sound of a key in the lock, the heavy door groans open, flooding the cell with blinding light. His waiting wasn't in vain. It was the crucible that prepared him to save a nation. Long before Joseph, another journey took place, one of global scale. Noah, given an impossible task, build a massive ark on dry land. For years, maybe decades, he and his family labored. We can picture the seasons changing around the construction site: spring rains, summer heat, autumn leaves falling on the gopher wood. He faced ridicule, skepticism, and the sheer monotony of the daily work. But every plank, every joint was an act of faith in a promise of rain that had never been seen. Then the first drop, then another, and as the world was remade by water, his long obedience became the vessel of salvation. The image of that dove returning, an olive branch in its beak, is the ultimate symbol of hope after a long and terrifying trial. The waiting was over. A new beginning had dawned. Waiting can also be wrapped up in love and labor. Jacob, fleeing his brother, falls in love with Rachel. To win her hand, he agrees to work for her father for 7 years. The scriptures say those years seemed to him but a few days because of his love for her. We see him tending the flocks through the cycle of the seasons. From the birth of new lambs in spring to the huddling of the sheep in winter, but his journey of waiting was far from over. Deceived, he works another 7 years. 14 years of labor, of longing, of patience. It was a long, hard road that shaped him from a trickster into a patriarch, the father of a nation. Sometimes waiting is communal, a shared sorrow. The people of Judah, their city destroyed, are marched into exile in Babylon. They are displaced, heartbroken, by the rivers of Babylon. There we sat down, yea, we wept. They hang their harps on the willows, their songs of joy silenced. For 70 years, they live as captives in a foreign land, holding onto prophecies of return. It must have felt like an eternity. Generations were born and died in Babylon, but they kept their identity, they kept the stories, they kept the faith. And then, a miracle. A foreign king issues a decree. They are free to go home. Their long winter of sorrow was over, and the journey back to their homeland could begin. Waiting can also be a desperate, moment-to-moment fight for survival. Look at David. Anointed as the future king, but then forced to run for his life from the reigning king, Saul. He isn't waiting in a comfortable home or a quiet pasture. He's a fugitive in the wilderness. He hides in the dark recesses of caves. He's constantly looking over his shoulder, betrayal a constant threat. Every rustle of leaves could be an enemy. Every day is a test of survival and trust. For years, he lives on the edge. This period of intense pressure and reliance on God forged the heart of Israel's greatest king, the man after God's own heart, and the author of so many psalms that give voice to our own struggles. Centuries later, another man's feet walk dusty roads, carrying a message that will change the world. The Apostle Paul, his life is a series of journeys, not of wandering, but of purpose. We can trace his travels on a map, a web of lines crisscrossing the Roman Empire. But these journeys were filled with hardships, bittings, imprisonments. In between the travel, there were long waits in prisons. But Paul never saw waiting as wasted time. From a prison cell, by the dim flicker of candlelight, he wrote letters. Letters of encouragement, of theology, of profound love to the churches he had planted. His periods of confinement became the source of scripture that has guided billions for 2 millennia. His waiting became our inheritance. From Abraham's patient steps to Paul's purposeful journeys, from Joseph's prison cell to Noah's ark, these stories echo a single, powerful truth. The waiting is part of the story. The long seasons of desert wandering, of exile, of hiding, of labor, they are never empty. They are the spaces where character is built, where faith is deepened, and where we are prepared for the promise that lies ahead. Just as the sun rises over the desert, bringing an end to the long, dark night, our seasons of waiting will also come to an end. If you feel like you're in one of those seasons right now, take heart, you are in good company. Your journey has a purpose, even if you can't see it yet. The story is still being written. Thanks so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. We'll see you in the next video.